Welcome to DBN Business News. These are the headlines for today. NNPC reveals plan to stop importation of fuel. 17 ships arrive Lagos ports with petroleum products. Nigeria partners Brazil on rice production. And Ghana begs Nigeria over threat of gas supply cut. Welcome to DBN Business News. I am Seun, Awosika, and now details of the news. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has set a deadline of 18 months to end overseas refining of crude oil and boost local production capacity. The Group Managing Director of the corporation, Dr. Ibe Kachiku, made the announcement in Abuja at the opening of bids for offshore processing agreement. He explained that the public opening of the bids is to ensure transparency in the business of the NNPC. Meanwhile, the NNPC received a total of 101 bids from different oil trading firms to participate in the offshore processing agreement. The OPA is a strategy adopted by the NNPC in managing about 445 barrels per day of crude oil the corporation gets as a domestic allocation. Some of the bidders include Emirate National Oil Company, Singapore Private Limited, Rain Oil Limited, Petraco Limited, Eni Trading and Shipping, as well as Energas. Others whose bids were also harvested were Shell Western Supply and Trading Limited, Northwest Petroleum and Gas Limited, Forte Oil PLC, Slope Nigeria Limited, Omo Trading International Limited, and Northwest Petroleum and Gas Company Limited. NNPC is planning to process 210,000 barrels per day via the OPA. Would-be winners of the bid have a minimum of $1 billion turnover. Let's see how that goes there. Here is something that would bring smiles to the faces of Nigerians as fuel shortages seem to be returning to some parts of the country. The Nigeria Ports Authority says 17 ships carrying petroleum products, general cargoes, and other goods have arrived at Lagos ports. The NPA said in a statement that the ships arrived at the ports with petrol, bulk gas, diesel, aviation fuel, general cargoes, and bulk coal. It noted that 46 other ships were being expected to arrive at the ports anytime soon. 6 of the expected ships would arrive at the ports with base oil, petrol, and aviation fuel. 16 ships will sail in with containers, while 7 others are coming in with general cargoes. The remaining 17 ships would also sail into the ports with frozen fish, bulk sugar, buckwheat, bulk salt, and soya beans. And coming from the Nigerian Economic Summit now, the federal government has announced plans to design an economic model to take the Northeast out of its present state. Secretary to the State Government of the Federation, Babacha David Lawal, said this while receiving the report of the 21st Nigeria Economic Summit on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. The SGF noted that in view of Boko Haram insurgency, among others, it was imperative to come out with an economic blueprint to rebuild the Northeast. Lawal lamented that the region had never experienced economic prosperity with only 3 months of rainfall during the rainy season. He therefore called on investors to show more interest in the region. To food now, the Senate has summoned the Nigeria Customs Service Controller General, Colonel Hamid Ali, retired, to appear at the upper chamber over issues surrounding the removal of rice from the import restriction list. The lawmakers directed that Ali should interact with his ad hoc committee on import duty waiver. The upper chamber believes the action taken by the customs would reverse the gains recorded in rice production in the country. We'll see how that goes. And as that goes on, there's something else happening about rice. That's the government of Nigeria and Brazil have reached an agreement to begin the production in Nigeria as part of efforts to boost food production and agriculture. The agreement is also expected to cover housing and sewage management with a goal to provide a good life for Nigerians. The two countries showed the interest to cooperate on these levels at a meeting between a business delegation from Brazil and Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. leader of the Brazilian delegation, Elvado Silva Jr., told journalists in Abuja that the delegation was in Nigeria to establish business in the areas of construction, agriculture, and also management of the sewage. Brazil producing rice right here in Nigeria. Still on the Nigeria-Brazil trade relations, the Nigerian-Brazil Chamber of Commerce and Industry believes that the pact between both countries will strengthen existing bilateral relations. The president of Nigerian-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Emmanuel Ibru, noted that agribusiness, power generation, and infrastructural development form Brazil's investment profile in Nigeria. He went on to say that Nigeria remains the most attractive environment for investment, being the largest economy in Africa with a population of over 160 million people. Of course, similarly, Nigeria and Qatar have commenced negotiation on a policy that would guarantee the general welfare of migrant employees in both countries. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Productivity, Dr. Clement Ilo, said this at an interministerial meeting on bilateral labour agreement between Nigeria and Qatar in Abuja. Qatar had in 2014 requested for the employment of manpower from Nigeria. Both countries are expected to continue deliberation on the bilateral labour agreement in Qatar on 21st and 22nd of October. Over to the telecoms industry now. The Nigerian Communications Commission has disclosed that the decision to block unregistered SIM cards was to assist security agencies to monitor criminals. Executive Vice Chairman of NCC, Professor Umar Dambata, made the disclosure while speaking at the NCC Day at the ongoing International Trade Fair in Abuja. Dambata said it is dangerous for subscribers to use phone lines that do not bear their identities because of the security implications and warned them. Also in his remarks, the Deputy Director Consumers Affairs in the Commission, Mr. Femi Atoyebi, said the Commission had commenced monitoring of call data of suspected kidnappers and insurgents and had been forwarding same to appropriate security operatives. Well, we wish Nigeria luck there. The Central Bank of Nigeria has weakened exchange rate pegged slightly to 197 naira to the dollar on the interbank market from 196 naira 98 kobo set on Monday. Traders said the regulator sent a message announcing the adjustment, which is the ninth since the bank introduced tight currency controls in February. The central bank has resisted calls to further devalue the naira in the face of a plunge in oil revenue. It devalued the currency last November and later pegged the exchange rate in another de facto devaluation. But the central bank has continued to intervene at the interbank market periodically to provide forex liquidity support for the local currency. The local currency traded at 225 naira to the dollar on the parallel market just on Thursday. Now it's time to take a look at the top gainers and losers after tradings at the Nigeria stock market on Friday.
Come, discover, learn, and network at Build Masex and Interior 2015. Featuring exhibitions and seminars on building, machinery, construction, and interior decorations. Date, October 20th to 22nd. Venue, the new Exhibition Center, Eco Hotel and Suite. Time, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Admission is free. Your host is Governor Akinwumi Ambode, Executive Governor of Lagos State, and special guest is Malam Nasir El Rufai, Governor of Kaduna State, plus other notable speakers. This event is brought to you by Atlantic Exhibition and endorsed by NASIMA, NIA, NIQS, and EDAN. See newspapers and posters for details. Build Masex and Interior 2015, exploring the present to create the future.
Media support from DBN Television, your choice station.
Welcome back. The Ghanaian government has sent a delegation to Nigeria to hold emergency talks with the federal government over a threat of gas supply cut. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation warned last week that it would cut gas supply by 70% to Ghana's main power generation company owing to unpaid debts of about $181 million. That's huge. Ghana has already suffered power shortages, and Nigeria gas meets about 25% of the neighboring countries' needs. Still talking power in Africa, United Kingdom's Minister of State for Africa, Grant Shapps, believes reliable solar power systems can help some of Africa's poorest countries to cope with the continent's chronic power shortages. Speaking during a tour of solar energy facilities backed by the UK government in Lagos, Shapps called for international backing of solar energy projects to speed up access across the continent. This is in line with the United Nations' new global goals to provide universal energy access in Africa by year 2030. And the World Bank has plans to put a package of financial assistance together for countries hosting millions of refugees from Syria. Bank officials say there is a substantial financial burden being borne by Lebanon and Jordan. They are discussing help from rich countries and from Gulf nations. The World Bank says the idea has been well received by potential contributors. It is expected that the first funds would be paid out in 4 to 6 months. The arrangement under discussion is one in which the bank would make loans to Jordan and Lebanon, with aid donors covering at least some of the interest costs. Let's move over to see what's happening at the stock markets in Asia now. Shares went near a 2-month highest level on Friday. Japan's Nikkei stock N225 was up 1% but still poised for a 0.9% decline for the week. China's stock gained 0.6% and was set to end the week 5% higher. Markets were also awaiting September Eurozone inflation data on Friday, with expectations that an early estimate of prices contracting 0.1% will be confirmed. Let's take a look at oil prices now as we go. Oil prices reversed overnight losses as investors bet falling U.S. production would cut a global surplus. U.S. crude was up 1.1% at $46.90 per barrel on Friday after shedding 0.6% on Thursday. Global benchmark Brent gained just 1% to $50.20. And that's the much we can take on DBN Business News today. I'm Seun Awosika. Thanks for watching.